good, OGs? Today we are here with a brand new podcast. You got me, TJ, the OG Otaku, and we got my boy Nathan, aka N, who's gonna be here. And basically, long story short, me and Nathan been watching a lot of the MCU movies for quite a while. Whenever they drop, we're there religiously. And we've learned some things. We've seen some things over our years. We've seen some changes to the MCU, how things are done in production, how the movies are now, and we got some insight into how we think things are going to go forward. So that's what these podcasts are going to be focused on. If you're an MCU fan, and let's be real, if you're not, why not? Like, it's sick. But yeah, we're going to be digging deep into the MCU and just taking you on the journey, giving you some insight into the characters, into the comics, things you didn't know previously. Because, you know, I've read a few comics in my time, to say the least as well. So, like, it's great to see these things come to fruition on the big screen and see how they've adapted certain stories and characters. And, yeah, and what are you saying?
It's crazy, man. I mean, like, where we've gotten to this point is just nuts compared to where we started out. I remember, I think the Avengers came out and, like, you and I had, like, checked out some of the films, not together, but just independently. And after that, it was like, oh, okay, I see something, they're doing something different here. Like, I want to check these out. It was nice to have a friend to actually start sharing that shit with. And, I think we've, you and I, you know, we've definitely gotten tighter over the years based on Marvel films, which is crazy, like, and, you know.
I'm sure we're not the only people in the world that has been brought together thanks to the MCU and the Marvel movies and the whole culture behind it, because, you know, it's big right now. Like,
yeah,
it's big.
But no, for me, it's definitely it's at the heart of the experience as well, because I'd be enjoying these films, but, like, it's nice that we get gassed up over it. And so, yeah, this little get together, us having a little chat every now and then, seeing where things are going, like, this felt highly appropriate by this point, you know.
And what's great about it now is there's so much of it. Like, there's TV shows, there's movies, there's so much around the MCU right now that there's a lot to unpack. Like, you know.
Well, bro, I just remember there was a day when we were first watching the films, we were being like, well, will they do Black Panther? Will they do Doctor Strange? These are a bit far out, aren't they? Like,
I will always remember chilling with you and being like, nah, bruv. Like, what was it, like, after Iron Man 1 or something like that? Early in the MCU, I was like, yeah, but we'll never see Black Panther. Like, I was like, that will never happen. Like, yeah, it's all cool. Yeah, we got characters now. Oh my God, Captain America's coming. But we'll never see, like, Black Panther. And then lo and behold, like,
who showed up eventually?
Who showed up, like, and it's been great. Like,
and now it's just at that point where it's just like, oh, well, what aren't they doing? I guess they still aren't rebooting Howard the Duck, but, like, I mean, not pretty much every other thing is, you know.
Not to see, hey, I ain't seen Howard the Duck, though.
Yeah. No, they announced that. Yeah. I'm seeing it at this point. They got that draw.
He's in the MCU. He's there. Like, I've seen him, but, you know, not to say he's got his movie yet.
He was in the final battle, you know.
He was in the final battle. He had a massive gun.
He showed up in, like, a little, like, just a little side bit with the Ravagers. And I was like, oh shit.
His gun, like, the suit and tie. He's ready, like.
Yeah, no. Peak shit.
But yeah, that's what's been great about, like, a lot of the MCU and everything coming from it, because it's great for the fans who have been there, you know, from day one. Like, for me, you know, watching them old school Marvel cartoons on, like, Fox Kids or something like that, you know, like, going way back. Like, yeah. But yeah, like, seeing, like, a lot of them stories that were just one shots or just specific storylines actually being brought into the MCU. And, like, seeing it big screen, like, bro, they would never bring, like, this character in. Like, who knew Guardians of the Galaxy other than die-hard fans until Guardians dropped that movie, and now everyone knows about the Guardians.
Yeah,
like,
now it's like household name. Like, Groot is, like, you know, your mom and your dad know who Groot is.
Look at this tin. Groot ain't even an original member of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, like, no, it's true. It's true. He was from like, I think he was, like, in a Tales of Suspense issue or something, as some villain or something when he first came about. Probably a lot hardcore nerds are going to jump on that and be like, it's not Tales of Suspense, it's something else. But
a lot of them on the team ain't even, like, original members of the Guardians. Like, And even ones that are like Drax and Star-Lord, they're way different in that iteration than they are to like the comic book. Like, you know, comic book Drax had a cape.
Drax the Destroyer in the comics is done. Like, I kind of like. I don't get me wrong. Like, you know, Dave Bautista's version in the James Gunn films is like
definitely
that's hands down a sick performance, and like, you know, I love watching him in that role. But yeah, comics Drax is a different breed.
It's a different
animal. But it's I guess, like, credit to the MCU. They keep adapting these characters and bringing them into a kind of contemporary light that actually works and stuff. You know, it's I sort of, not to say that like you'd bump into every single concept they try to bring from the comics, and actually these days they're actually bringing the most balmy ones in. Like, you know, you can. Well, yeah, we'll get to talking about Loki and stuff like that. But yeah, it's absolutely nuts how like they were really earnest with like the early Iron Man films. It was like, we're going to try and make this real. Like, yeah, this dude, he gets like, you know, he gets it like trapped in a desert and has to break out making an Iron Man suit. And
just like, how are you going to make these like crazy characters from the comic book fit in real life? You know, like that's always been the line that they've.
And it feels like, yeah, with that film, they kind of came from humble beginnings.
Yeah.
And now where it's stretched to is just like, we're getting like 10 projects in 2021 after COVID delays. And yeah. Yeah,
it's a great time to be a Marvel fan, to be a comic fan, just to be a superhero fan, to be any fan, like, you know.
Sure.
It's just great. Like, back in the days, these were the things we joked about, you know. I mean, like, you know, when Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy was like the peak of it. Like when Blade was like the first ever like proper big budget like Marvel movie, like
yeah, it's not enough credit given to Blade, like given
honestly,
that it's like
if it wasn't for Blade making Marvel that like cinema money back then, we would not have had the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, what then led on to the MCU what we have today, like hands down.
It's crazy to think, like in the 90s, like they'd come so close to bankruptcy and everything, like and they were selling off. Like, I heard some speculation, like they were talking about making deals for the entire catalog of characters to like Sony or whoever was bidding, but then these studios just wanted to buy the select ones like Spider-Man and X-Men and stuff. But they
were looking to sell everything, and like, you know, they sold bits and bobs, and that's why basically, you know, we're here like, it took so long to get Spider-Man in the MCU, and like, you know, we just now got the X-Men back and the Fantastic Four and stuff like that. Hence why they're not there now.
Sure.
Because back then they had to get sold, but you know what? Like, they came home in the end. Now we're on the other side looking in. They came home in the end, and if it wasn't for that selling back then, they wouldn't have had the peas to do what they're doing now, you know?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. If they'd always had the main toys to play with, you know, Marvel Studios might have just like started out being like, we'll make Spider-Man and X-Men films, and that's all we need to do, right? But now it's, you know, kind of a blessing in disguise, I guess, for fans.
Basically, this is what this is going to be. We're going to be talking about a lot of the MCU. We're going to be kicking it in later today. We're going to be talking about that Loki series. If you ain't seen it, again, what are you doing? Like, Loki finished last week, and people are still reeling off it. Gotta watch it again. You gotta, like, it's one of them things, you gotta watch it again, knowing what you know now, and just being like, shit. Like,
I mean, for me, this series, like I've been watching all of the new Disney Plus series. You know, since we started getting Marvel stuff again, like I've been like, give me it every week, like, you know.
And none of the series so far have disappointed. Like, and I feel like each one has one-upped the other one in a way. Like, you know, in a way, each one just like took the scale a bit further, and like Loki just went all out. Like, damn, Loki could have been a movie, you know what I mean? They could have smacked that together, put that in cinema, and people would have watched that happily.
It's a game changer. It's a huge game changer.
Yeah. And like, you know, I'm going to have to drop the spoiler warning now, I guess.
I guess so, yeah. Prefacing all things we say with spoiler warnings, by the way.
I mean, this is when you feel like, if you want to know about the MCU, come here. There's going to be some spoilers abound for certain things, especially if we're talking about the comics. the thing is, when you talk about the comics, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen in the way it does in the comics. Like, you know, the MCU are very good at like changing things just enough so that you can't see it coming. Like,
we can speculate with the best of them.
Yeah, but yeah, we can speculate with the best of them. So yeah, let's talk about Loki. let's get into this.
Getting into Loki. Okay. Well, I mean, there's a lot of meat on this bone, but I mean, the way the show began. Firstly, Loki obviously dropping out of the Battle of New York. You know, Tesseract. It was an amazing moment in Endgame because obviously, you know, the focus of that film is drawn completely elsewhere, but it's a surprising thing to see.
Yeah. If you don't know. Again, why don't you? But during the Endgame sequence, when the Avengers had to travel back in time to grab the Tesseract so that they could get the Infinity Stones to re-click everyone back into existence, Tony Stark fumbled the ball, dropped the Tesseract, and Loki picked it up and zipped off somewhere. To where? We don't know. Now we find out in Loki, the new series that just dropped, he fell in, I don't know, what country was that?
So he turned up in the Gobi Desert.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And he's still on his kind of Loki thing at the time, and he's like, you know, burdened with glorious purpose. That's the first time we hear him say it. Well,
that is like
maybe in an old
my favorite line. I want it on a t-shirt. Yeah. I am burdened with glorious purpose. Get out of my way, bro. Man's burdened with glorious purpose.
I just love that he lands in a completely random location, and the first thing he starts doing is trying to rule the people. And it's like...
He actually looked at the people.
It's pretty on brand. But
looked around, was like, there's a big rock over there. I went to stand on the big rock. So, like, before we get a conversation going, let's just set the levels, yeah?
Yeah. But then the TVA show up, obviously, like, post-haste. And we get that first little hilarious moment of like, oh, okay, these guys have some power. And it's pretty hilarious because apparently they can punch you in slow motion or club you.
It reminds me of, have you ever seen Dredd, the Judge Dredd movie, the newer one, not the old one? And like, you know, the drug in that was like, it was the slow motion thing. Yeah. It does remind me of that because like, she clapped Loki with the baton and like his lips are just shaking in the wind and slow.
And then the way the TVA agent walks into frame at real, like, you know, in real time, and it's like, yep, slap the collar on.
And at this moment you're like, what? Like, what did he do to him? Like, Loki's a god. Like,
it was an oh shit moment.
Yeah.
I mean, his god, like... That was one thing with this series, which I think there'll be a few places to sort of mention it, was like, he's a god, right? Like, Loki's powerful Asgardian god, you know, he can duke it out with Thor.
Yeah.
But, like, there's moments...
Stronger than the average human, yeah.
Yeah, there's some moments in this show, though, where he gets kind of slapped about, which I get in the TVA office, because that's meant to be the place, right, where nobody can do shit, but...
Not to say, I don't know, I never seen him have a physical contest with anyone of the TVA. Like, when the TVA have slapped him up, they've had a stick in their hand, you know what I mean? Like, it never came to, like, fisticuffs with a member of the TVA, so I don't know how strong they are, because I feel like if it came to fisticuffs with an Asgardian, the Asgardian's gonna win. Like, they're just human variants, right? Like,
right.
Yeah, so...
I mean, there was that little scuffle later in the first episode where, so he pickpockets. I don't want to jump ahead here, but yeah, he pickpockets Mobius for the device, and then gets his collar off and puts it on that hunter.
Doing his mischief thing, you know, like, you can't be good at mischief and not know how to pick a pocket here. Like,
sure.
Like, what
that's
you
pretty
doing,
mischievous. That's basic mischief. Yeah.
Mischievous 101 out here, like.
But introducing the TVA, they get a great introduction. You know you get that they're serious straight off the bat. Take them through to the TVA's headquarters, which, like, I really liked it's got a very kind of particular look and everything, right? And it's
very like the Bureau or like Umbrella Academy, if you've seen it. Like, you know, whenever there's like a governing body of time, they're always like some next paper pushing bureaucracy that like does it. It's always them controlling time. But yeah, basically that's what the TVA is. I know one thing going into this new phase of the Marvel Universe is thinking to yourself, how are they going to up the levels that more than Thanos? You know what I mean? Like, you know, how are we going to bring the power scaling to the next level? How are we going to up these characters, give them a threat bigger than like half of all existence being like wiped out? And this is where the TVA come in.
Yeah, apparently.
Apparently, because they're just above all of that. Like, you know, they didn't care about Thanos because as far as they were concerned, Thanos was meant to happen. Like,
it's just a paving stone in the road.
It's just a stone in the road. Like, and it's funny that out of everyone, it's Loki that we find here discovering this, you know, going from, I guess, being the main villain or boss leading up to the whole Avengers 1 and then finding out, you know, there was someone behind that boss, Thanos-ish, yeah.
Well, what I liked about this, what I ended up liking about this show, not to jump ahead again, but Loki obviously was, you know, he was introduced early on in the whole MCU as like a big presence and everything.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see that with the show they're giving him that continuation and he's still going to be a presence, even if it's this variant timeline version, but that has now sort of transcended the concept of like being from 2012. And it's like, what, like he has been outside of time and you know, on a larger quest kind of thing.
He's basically, without living it, he's seen so many lifetimes lived as him. He's seen so many different versions of him throughout the Loki series that he just knows how it goes. Like, you know, that's why by the end of it we see a much different Loki, because he knows every time they try to stab each other in the back, every time they go for the throne, and every time they fail because of that reason. So now with that hindsight, he's there going, I don't want the throne. I'm not going to stab you in the back.
And this is what so he gets into the TVA. Obviously, he gets run through the mill, put in front of Judge Renslayer. But then Mobius comes on the scene, played by Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
Owen Wilson killed it.
Yeah, no, I love Owen Wilson in this show. As Mobius, Mobius N. Mobius as his full name, who in the comics was basically the TVA. Like, the TVA was just like a bunch of Mobius clones, and there was like more than one Mobius, which I thought was going to happen in the series, because they hinted, like, you know, when Renslayer and him's having a drink and she's like, use a coaster, and he's like, but them rings were already there before I got here.
Sure.
And she was like, they're all yours. And like, you're obviously thinking, whoa, what do you mean by that? Like,
well, I feel like that wasn't even properly elaborated on. It's like we're still,
because I was thinking, there's definitely more than one Mobius running around. He just don't know it. Like, there's like different Mobius variants. Like, I thought that was where we were going with that. In the end, it didn't come up. But it
still could.
It still could, because
obviously,
like, if again, like, I'm assuming anyone listening has definitely watched everything, and if not, why not? Like,
we are going to jump around on this for sure, because there's bits at the end that are interesting to talk about. That are,
the whole last episode of Loki as a series I can chat about. That last episode of Loki is a different fucking topic.
That's hours of conversation alone.
But like, we're gonna get into that.
But Tom Hiddleston, Owen Wilson played well off each other.
Yeah.
You know, they were really enjoyable scenes to watch, and like really got you into the
jet ski. I really wanted him to get a jet ski. Like, I'm so vexed he didn't get that jet ski
wants.
At the end of it. Like, I just wanted that after credits like scene of him on the beach, like whipping a jet ski around, like yeah, he made it.
And maybe we know we got season 2 coming. Like, that's the big promise at the end of that show, which I didn't see coming. I was sure they were going to give us like a self-contained thing. End of episode 6, he was going to be back on the timeline, but
so I'm bad because I don't. The director of Loki basically isn't going to direct season 2, and the reason being is because Loki wasn't even planned for a season 2. It's only just like got a season 2. Like, it slapped so hard before they had finished. They were like season 2.
Right.
Like, so now we get Loki season 2.
Just made that little post credit like a week before. Feige's like, hurry it through.
Like, there was no plan for a Loki season 2, but there is one now. What's great? I mean, it's a great show. Let's get more of it. But yeah, there's so many unanswered questions, but I don't think season 2 was where they planned to give us those unanswered questions, those answers to them unanswered questions. I feel we were meant to get that throughout the other movies, but now that they've put in the season 2, they're gonna say, yeah, this is where it's meant to be.
Well, we'll get to, like, you know, where you know the strands of plot kind of dovetail off into from Loki, but like throughout the rest of the show though, so like episode 1 it continued to be a great kind of introduction to the TVA. But like you say, like it demonstrated how powerful they were in the most simple, like lovely way, and just like Loki's up to obviously his old tricks, trying to find the Tesseract, get out of there and stuff. Comes across a drawer of loose Infinity Stones after telling Casey what a fish is.
This
well, he didn't
is the
tell him,
maddest drawer ever.
Possibly not even. Like, we didn't see every drawer there. Like, that was just Casey's drawer.
Oh,
or a drawer he had access to.
That wasn't even the dreadest drawer they got. Like,
Yeah. Like, I was laughing at that moment at the same time as, like, jaw dropped, eyes wide,
So, basically Loki's running around TVA trying to bust his little escape thing. Comes to one of the clerks and, like, opens one of the drawers on his, like, little push cart thing. It's filled to the brim with Infinity Stones. He says they're paperweights and, like, they don't care about that. Like, to the point that Loki picked them up in his hand and was like, this is useless here, and dropped it back into the thing because it's like, or did he? Because there's lots of speculation that you never see him drop it, you just hear a drop, and he is the god of mischief. If anyone can, like, palm an Infinity Stone, it'd be him.
Well, I mean, it ain't shown up in 5 episodes, so it'll be a bit like if... that's going to be a leap if they're like, episode 3, season 2, he's like, I palmed an Infinity Stone in the first episode.
He had a lot of opportunities away from the TVA to use an Infinity Stone if he had one in pocket. But that just showed the power level, basically. Everything that came before, all the movies led up to the Infinity War with Thanos and everything. And in the first episode, they told us, that means nothing, those paperweights here. No one cares about Infinity Stones around here.
Yeah. Sit up straight and pay attention to what's happening right now. Don't worry about anything else.
Hence we see Loki take off on his journey.
And it progresses really well. I mean, obviously, we quickly learn, Loki gets, he gets humbled pretty quick in that first episode, starts talking with the TVA a little bit more, and we quickly learn we get into the meat of this series, which is about the variant Loki, who we come to meet at the end of the second episode. I really enjoyed the second episode as well, just for getting Loki a little bit more into the method and the kind of like just general. I mean, it was there was
nice with others.
Well, like I mean, he was learning about the TVA. Obviously looking through the reports and stuff. Was the one that ended up pointing out the flaw with apocalypses and no time variance. I really liked the bit in Pompeii. That was really cool.
Them just having a joke, and he's like, "Free your goats. Hi, I'm Loki, god of mischief. You all about to die. Blah 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 blah." And boom, jokes. So the TVA, the organization that are protecting the sacred timeline, which is the one timeline in which we've all seen, which is the MCU that we know now.
Exactly.
They protect it by whenever someone veers off the timeline, and they do some stuff like Loki getting the Tesseract because Tony Stark fumbled the ball when he was time traveling, made a branch timeline, so he had to get wiped. He had to get pulled out of time and brought to the TVA. Then he gets recruited by said TVA because there's a worse Loki, apparently variant of him, because there's different timelines and different variants, and that's what they get rid of. But there's a Loki variant out there that's a much bigger problem for the TVA. So they say, all right, you Loki, you help us catch that one. And, maybe we don't wipe you out of reality and existence. Before that, though, they broke him down, that scene when he showed him basically his life, because obviously this was a young Loki just from Avengers 1 who hadn't gone through the progression of all the other movies, like Dark World, Ragnarok, things like this, the loss of his mother, the loss of his father, or adopted father, Odin, and then dying by the hands of Thanos, all through it, I was just like, are they going to show him how he's going to die? Are they going to show him how? Because I felt like the second he sees that he's going to get killed like nothing by Thanos, he'll realize that everything is frivolous and he needs to just play ball, basically.
Yeah.
Which he did. I think
he came round.
I think it was that, and more seeing that his actions got his mother killed as well. What really cemented him in thinking, everything I've been doing obviously isn't working. Let me change my game plan. Let me see what these TVA guys are on.
Yeah, no, it was interesting, I think, how they kind of... Because obviously Loki in the films, we'd seen him change tact over the films, and yet he was mischievous to a point, and then, Ragnarok, he kind of went full good guy.
Yeah.
But in the series, I think they've actually done it in like a way more nuanced and sort of interesting way, and in still a way that's very comic books, and like, kind of... It's just a nuts concept that they're sort of trying to give us now. Like you couldn't really have speculated that they would get into something like this as early on in the MCU in like phase 1 or 2. Like that would have been such a pipe dream and would have just kind of sounded like a madman ranting.
Just a show for just Loki? Nah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, just Loki. Like he was the villain of Avengers. Like you can take him the show.
Yeah, but it sets up so much. So through that, we learn of Sylvie, the female Loki from the comic books, but she goes by the name Sylvie, who I thought it was going to be Enchantress, because like Enchantress's real name is Sylvie something in the comics. But anyway.
Yeah, no, she's played by Sophia Di Martino.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not speaking properly today. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed. I thought she was one of the best performances in the show as well. Yeah, and
definitely, and like the banter between her and Tom Hiddleston, Loki, was great. Like just like two people that are like just as obnoxious and shifty and trickery, and like you don't have to tell truthful lies and all this. Like, just the banter between them was jokes. Like that episode when they're like on the train, it reminded me a lot of like a Mandalorian or like a Star Wars episode, just a random planet trying to get from point A to point B, like, get off a planet, and it was good, like just seeing that interaction between them, and then her dropping the bomb that basically everyone that works in the TVA, because TVA are told that they were created by the timekeepers, free beings that protect the sacred timeline and keep things in check, and they made all the members of the TVA, the organization, to go out and get rid of all the bad variants that may pop up so that the timeline stays protected, because there was a massive universal war, multiversal war between them, and they wanted to settle that.
Seems legit.
It seems legit. I don't know. Loki thought it sounded shifty. And then like Sylvie broke it to him, it was because apparently all the members were not created by the timekeepers to be members of the TVA, but were actually variants that had been plucked from different timelines, had their memories wiped, and were basically memories wiped and forced into being
TVA slaves or whatever,
never,
whatever the MCU appropriate term is.
But when you got people putting their lives on the line for a belief that they think is real, saying that they've been created by, let's say, God, basically, to protect the sacred timeline, and all of that's a lie, that's gonna put a spanner in the works for any organization. Yeah.
So like another performance in the show I really liked, and where it gets into obviously this being uncovered. Is Hunter B-15. She had a really interesting kind of arc that just kind of came out of the woodwork, in that she was played off as a bit of a background character, and then would eventually come into the spotlight a little bit more. And
because at the beginning I hated her character. She was such a dick.
Well, I guess it was the one oppressing the protagonist kind of thing, and like.
Yeah, just so you remember, like, you variant scum or whatever, like, she just had no love for variants, only to later on find out she is a variant and have her world destroyed. Yeah. And that comes from, so Sylvie enchants all these people, including a selection of TVA agents that end up having memories conflict with what they believe to be true. Which is like it's a pretty like sci-fi heavy concept for the MCU in general. Very
which
Blade
I really
Runner,
I really loved that. Like I thought it was. Just in general, they've gone in such an interesting direction with this show, and just like the these these kind of extra character beats and stuff that we got throughout it to help the plot along were really good, and I'm hoping that obviously we see all these characters return and more interesting ones added in to kind of flesh things out.
Yeah, B52.
B15.
B15.
I'm pretty sure it's B15.
She ends up back in the beef at the end when Loki and Sylvie are finally brought to what they believe to be the timekeepers, TVA included. TVA thought they were the real timekeepers.
Oh, but first he goes into that time loop jail. Remember where he keeps getting...
That was good.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
He just kept on getting punched in the face. Like, that was like...
We got some, Tom Hiddleston gave so many amazing scenes in this where he spoke from a real, the bottom of Loki's heart and really made you believe and sympathize. And some of those best moments were in that loop where it's he's talking to Sif.
When he was just after the 1,000th time of being punched in the face, just like, you know what? Just punch me, I'm scum, blah, blah, blah. And then she doesn't punch him, but she still says he's scum. And bops off and starts to leap again to then punch him. The brilliance of that performance is what sells you on that moment when you're like, oh, is he going to break it? Is it going to go okay? And then him not getting hit once is the best it goes. And then, fortunately, I think Mobius comes in the next. It's true. Throughout everything before the show, even at the end when Thanos killed him, I remember first seeing that and was like, no way. And about halfway through the movie, still believing that Loki's gonna come. If anyone knows how to fake a death, it's Loki. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's always got the game plan, and to realize that he didn't.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And now this Loki realizing that same fact and just being like, I don't have the game plan. I don't know everything. I can't win everything. But you know what? I'm gonna do my damnedest to survive. And that's basically what it is. His survival journey.
So it does really. It was a great development for his character in general. It was nice that it kind of he was broken down in a way to that back point in the plot to then bring him to this kind of new interesting place where I think it's kind of he's in a very interesting position now, I think, compared to where he could have potentially been had he lived through Endgame. But I mean, that was obviously always going to happen. That's dictated by by the time itself,
and the flow of time and everything. But Loki and Sylvie are eventually brought forward to the people that rule the timekeepers. People that rule the TVA, the timekeepers. Sylvie gets vexed. Hunter B15 comes in, backs the beef. Sylvie lobs off one of the heads of the three timekeepers, only to find out it's a robot, some Wizard of Oz kind of shit. It starts laughing at her, whispers out, "See you soon," and dies. And all of them just shut down. It's oh my god, these guys ain't even real. What Loki has been saying from since episode 1, he's been really. 3 ancient wizard dudes that control space wizards that control time. Really, guys, this what you believe?
It was. A lot of fans I think saw that coming, but it was definitely satisfying to see all the same.
This is what I mean about how Marvel changed things slightly, because in the comic books there were the 3 timekeepers that did do the TVA and sat there at time and managed the time loop and everything, and there were these 3 beings that were represented by those robots. All of that's true, but in the end they just ended up being robots in the MCU. They weren't real, whereas in the comics they're real.
There's someone else pulling the strings.
There's someone in MCU now, there's someone else behind there. So Loki gets pruned even before we get to there, because Loki gets pruned, killed, wiped out of existence, or so we thought, only to find out when someone gets pruned or wiped out of existence, they go to this planet where this giant smoke monster called Alioth waits that can just eat all matter and anything he touches, like a giant waste disposal planet. In this planet we see so many things from different timelines, like a sphinx, a giant yellow jacket head,
Thanos copter.
Oh my god, when I saw that I couldn't believe it. I was like, is there a Thanos copter? Frog. Thor frog. Yeah.
Thor is a frog.
Thor is a frog in the jar, trying to get to the Hammer Mjolnir.
I will just say about Alioth is Alioth was really cool. You know, they put
Yeah.
a dragon's face in a cloud of smoke. That was awesome. And obviously, the variant Lokis, that was crazy.
That's the best
But
bit of there.
I think this episode and Alioth's portrayal in general is especially commendable because the last time Marvel gave us like a cloud of smoke that was a villain, it was in the second Fantastic Four film.
Yeah, it was Galactus.
It was generally not loved.
Yeah.
Generally not loved. They did better with it. And like he is a cloud of smoke in the comics.
He is. With
So,
a face.
like,
So
great.
They done it. Like,
Yeah.
They just done it better this time. Yeah.
Yeah. No, when we get Galactus again, I want him with the big horn hats.
Nah,
Like, you know, I don't.
He has to be the size to hold the planet in his hand.
Exactly.
Like,
Don't give me a cloud of smoke again with him. Alioth was, good because it was appropriate.
But yeah, so best thing about that episode was so while we're there, seeing the landscape and seeing all these weird things in the background, knowing that they've all been purged from like variant timelines and this is where they end up and their lives just rolling through like sucking up matter. The only things that survive are Lokis because Lokis are fucking survivors, innit? So he meets up with like some other Loki variants, Kid Loki, Old Man Loki, played by Richard E. Grant, and Boastful Loki, who's like Black Loki with a hammer, like a Thor's hammer.
Yeah, made from like a bit of a railway. And
railway
some
and a
handle
spanner
or something.
Yeah. Like some steampunk hammer.
He was an awesome take.
And Alligator Loki.
Best hands down best fan favorite of the series.
Fan favorite. When Loki, like if Disney Store isn't selling like an Alligator Loki plush toy, I don't know what they're doing.
That's come on Disney,
That's
get
easy
the
money.
merch right.
Get
You
the
gotta
merch,
get it
like,
all made. Richard E. Grant playing classic Loki though, in the in the clown looking suit,
proper, I love how the MCU are bringing in the proper old school like Marvel comic book costumes that like you would think would never run now, in like jokes ways, like with WandaVision, they had like all of them in their old school classic comic book costumes, but they done it as Halloween costumes and stuff. Richard D. Grant as like the older Loki that has seen it all, being the most powerful one as well, telling them why all you young Lokis these days focusing on your daggers and weapons and focus on the magic.
That was pretty awesome. What he said, his anecdote about I suppose this is him avoiding murder, so it's not really an anecdote, but when he talks about how he avoided being killed by Thanos, the Mad Titan, says like, I cast an illusion so powerful even the Mad Titan believed it, and I hid us some debris, which apparently was a fan theory that a lot of people were like, no, Loki's a trickster, so he's some debris in the background.
The same thing I was saying.
That vindicated a lot of fans that believed that or wanted to believe that. So some version of Loki out there.
Our Loki
Richard
didn't,
E. Grant's.
But Richard E. Grant Loki did.
Yeah.
He survived that and went to live his lifetime on a planet, master his power, and probably made that massive city of Asgard and just lived in it by himself, But I'm sure he got bored of that.
I don't know. I get the impression he spent a longer time purged and grew old in that environment. Than he did on. I need to watch again, but it was it was amazing, that scene where he conjures Asgard and
in its whole
his
entirety,
Loki sorcery because he speaks of it so highly.
Glorious purpose. It was sick.
And since then I've read fan theories saying that he has cast another illusion so that he didn't die that day and that he's still around.
I'm not gonna lie. I was saying that.
Which
the reason
would be
I'm saying that is because if you watch it again, literally just before he dies, he definitely casts a spell because he puts green energy around him and then it moves from around his body into his hands and he's charged up green energy in his hands. Why? And all through I was like, why did he just do that if he was only planning to get munched anyway?
I don't know. I need to check it out frame by frame.
No, watch it again.
But
he definitely does that.
I got the feeling watching it that he's just powering down. He's like, I just summoned fucking Asgard.
But he didn't. He went to, I don't know, he definitely done a spell. He powered up some energy, focused it, and then said, "Okay, eat me." Like, I was expecting him to blow up inside of it or something like that.
Right.
But like nothing happened. So I was like, what was that last spell that he definitely like used? Like, why would you charge a Kamehameha only to get eaten and not let it off? Like,
yeah, I don't know. It's, I mean, yeah.
Watch it again.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right because I really liked
Everyone
classic
really
Loki.
liked this portrayal. I've seen a lot of interviews with Richard.
I want all those
and
Lokis
like,
back.
I'm sure he'd be down to do it again. It's really jokes because he talks about how he thought he was getting a muscle suit.
Right.
Like he got there.
Look, it's not that muscly.
Yeah, but
he's got there. Quite a slender guy.
Nah, you know, you got to be like fit to be like a Marvel villain or hero.
I feel like that's a DC film thing mainly. Like,
but like he thought he was getting a muscle suit, and when he got there and set day one, they give him the costume and everything. He's like, "Oh, where's my muscle suit?" They're like, "What muscle suit?" He's like, "Oh, but I thought, you know, like I was gonna be like a superhero Loki."
I thought,
like, nah.
I was gonna be the old wise version who's like, you know, ripped. Wasn't, you know. I thought I was going to be like a sort of Odin-y Loki.
It's not like anime where all the old people are ripped. Like,
right?
Yeah, the older you get, the more ripped you get.
No. But no, that was a great episode, and Alligator Loki again, fan favorite. You know, hope he comes back the most. You know, they didn't show him getting eaten.
That whole episode was like great for Easter egg hunting. Like they had so much in it. And the Loki variants in themselves were just different Lokis from different like Loki stories and stuff like that. That like we know like Vote Loki, Kid Loki, who I've heard speculate because you know Kid Loki, one of the Loki stories ends up with Loki being on the Young Avengers team, and we know Marvel's setting up a Young Avengers. And like, why did Kid Loki just go, alright, peace? Like, I was like, why would you stay? Like, just go with these guys. It's obviously got to be a better place than this. I never understood the decision to jam for them. You know what I mean? Like. So I look forward to seeing how that plays out because that could be in the running. I know like everyone knows Marvel's setting up Young Avengers. We know it because we got shows like Ironheart and Kamala Khan's Ms. Marvel and stuff like that coming up, and you know characters hinted at in Falcon and Winter Soldier that we know to by those names definitely grow up to be like members of the Young Avengers. Got the Hawkeye series, which is like Hawkeye training up his protege to be the next to be in the Young Avengers. Like we know that's coming, so I don't think it's far to say that we could see a Kid Loki come back.
Yeah, no, he was. I need to look the kid that played him, but look up the kid that played him. But
his Loki, the only Loki.
He was. He was a cool performance to watch. And he killed Thor. That was pretty. You know, that's.
He was like, what?
You know, those are some credentials.
Why is the kid in charge? Because he's the strongest.
Yeah.
What? Why? Because I killed Thor, and instantly he said that, everyone shut up, and he was like, all right, fair play.
Yeah. No, he really had the Richard E. Grant look. He was like, no, you do well to respect the boy, and he got to carry the alligator.
Yeah.
So like there's clear marks of respect by the group. Even boastful Loki didn't say shit to him.
Yeah.
So he clearly was running some things.
So from there, that all comes to head. Richard E. Grant Loki saves Sylvie and Loki from Goliath. And then like Sylvie uses her enchanting powers, bonded with Loki's power.
I think I think he learned it at the same time or so. She was being like, believe in yourself or boost, whatever it was.
Like a spirit bomb, he just sent her that energy.
Right.
Control Goliath to open up the portal to the last world. Where was it called again? That final place. It's not nowhere, but basically the end of time.
It's like the land beyond.
Yeah, the land
existence.
beyond whatever. Yeah, it's the end of time to come to the boss. That now is like pretty much the whole of Loki was a great like journey and watching them characters and everything. But I didn't know what was coming in that last episode when they got to the final boss, because I was expecting it to throw down. Like I was expecting a big pop-off fight, everyone using all their abilities, like better guys coming or something. Nah. It was a conversation, but that conversation was deep. Like,
yeah, no. So we prior to we haven't actually given Miss Minutes a mention. Miss Minutes was a fun character, and she shows up in the land beyond time.
Yeah, Miss Minutes
offering a deal. But both Lokis turned down because they've been changed by their journey. They no longer want thrones or infinity gauntlets. They want answers and truth and revenge.
Miss Minutes was good in the show. Because like bare people were speculating she was going to be the big bad, and towards the end she kind of was, but like she was. It wasn't that she was the big bad, but she was like working with the big bad, like very.
She's got
closely.
some agenda.
She definitely does, because we know she goes back in time. Like, so I learned in that episode that she's not omnipotent. She can't be in two places at one, but she can skip between different timelines.
She is like tempad technology.
She went straight from End of Time to Renslayer to deliver a message from He Who Remains.
He Who Remains, yeah.
The final boss. And like she was like, sorry, I'm late. And I was like, how can you be late? But it's because she can't be in two places at once, even if she's done through time. And Renslayer gets all aggy after that information that she didn't want, and then ducks off, and we don't know where she went. Like that never comes to the end.
That's a loose thread at the end of the series.
That's a massive loose thread. I thought the after credit scene would be scene where she ended up, because she was like, I'm gonna go find him, the one who is like makes the rules or whatever, like, you know, the one who's in charge of stuff, like. Because we know from the comics, Renslayer is Kang's girlfriend, like second in command wife, basically.
Right, yeah, that's right. So here's the connection, of course.
Yeah, but obviously this Renslayer isn't that yet. Because we don't know where she went. But
no, of course, yeah. No,
in the comics, like
no
Kang
telling.
has waged wars on entire timelines, like. I don't know, from stuff that I've seen for her or against her, or like she picks up the mantle after a while when Kang's out of commission and stuff like this. So like, you know, she's like, if you knew the Kang stories from the comics and you heard her name, you know who she is.
That'd be an interesting place to take it if Renslayer turned out to be our Kang.
Yeah.
But when we get
not that she's our Kang, but she's because we know who our Kang is. So, alright, let's get into it. So, end of the episode, they get to the end of time. Loki and Sylvie to meet the final boss, greeted by Miss Minutes, who gives them both a deal to say, like, I'll give you the things you both want.
Nah, bro.
If you go, and they go, nah, bruv, yeah. Like, you know, we're here to finish this. Like, out of the elevator comes the one, the only Jonathan Majors portraying He Who Remains.
Yeah, looking swaggerful.
In the purple and green. If you know his colour scheme is purple and green, like, you're just like, okay. Yeah, because, I don't know, if you check the news and stuff, we know Jonathan Majors has been signed to Marvel for a bit, but to portray someone else.
Well, he was signed up as Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man Quantumania.
Like,
I
you know,
believe,
that's news. Like,
if my Ant-Man news notes are correct.
I did find out that originally he was actually hired to be in Loki, I think, as He Who Remains.
Right.
But like them liking him so much in that was like, hey, why don't you be Kang for Ant-Man Quantumania? So they gave him that deal then for that, instead of him being He Who Remains in Loki. And then through that thought, you know what, we can just make, because those are two completely separate characters in the comic books. Like, He Who Remains is one person, Kang the Conqueror is another person. But again, MCU, they do things differently. From the back of that deal, they said, well, you might as well just be this guy as well, and we're just going to make this guy a variant of that one. You know, boom. And like, that's how, you know, it's natural in the Marvel studio and whatnot.
I mean, the performance he gave in this last episode was like, it was possibly the best performance of the whole thing.
Yeah.
He was so like, he played a bit of a freak, you know, like he was kind of like just this odd Joker at the end of time,
like Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory, like you know,
looking for a successor.
Looking for a successor to, like, you know, control all the time in his stead, because he's been at this job for too long. He's bored, chilling by himself on his one, just eating apples. you merged out the elevator with eating an apple with so much swag, like, not what you expected,
I forgot he was
right?
eating the apple. Yeah, you're right.
It's like, not
He
what
was
you
eating
expected,
an apple.
right?
Where did he get
that's
that
me.
apple?
I don't know.
Do you reckon you can just create apples? Just
No, Doctor Strange done some stuff with apples and time, so
sure, yeah, that's a point. Yeah, that's a poignant link. You got there. No, that's true.
Maybe he just always eats a bit, then times it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
he was
infinite
watching
apple.
Stephen Strange on the timeline. And was like, I'm gonna do that. I love apples.
This guy,
love a red
this
delicious.
guy is making a killing in Granny Smith money. Like, only buying one apple. Like,
No, but it was so like the way he breaks down
the whole universe, the whole MCU, just everything we've seen up to this point, he explained it. Like, he's like, this is what this is, and this is what's coming, basically.
I mean, I loved how he explained it. I thought a little bit about, like, you know, when Thanos says, "I am inevitable."
Yeah.
Like, nah, this guy. Stone in the road again.
Yeah,
to use
again,
that
stone
metaphor.
in the road.
Stones in the road are inevitable, I guess.
Yeah.
But this guy
is inevitable,
and he doesn't need to say it, but he
Yeah.
explains it quite well, and it leads to obviously an interesting conflict. We understand that he who remains has seen a million lifetimes and comes from the 31st century where he waged war against himself on variant timelines, only to win out and then decide that he needed to bring order to time and consolidate it all into a single timeline, offering Loki and Sylvie then the choice that they can either take over and keep it in order, go back to the TVA and tell them who they are and why they do what they do, or they can kill him and let his variants loose.
Yeah.
Those are the two choices outlined, but then at some point in the scene he explains that they've passed the threshold because he has scripts of everything everyone's saying.
He says, if you don't believe me here, he whips out the scripts, puts them on the table, it's got everything they're saying or gonna say. He's like, I know. But then, there was that scene, and again, just the way he acted it, like, he was like, okay, we're past the threshold. And, like, he was kind of confused, like, looking about, like...
And then sliding his tempad over the table.
Yeah.
And then the way, obviously,
he,
the
picked
fight...
up a coin and dropped it just to see, like... Because he's like, he don't know what's going to happen next from this point forward. Like, it's all up to them. He's laid it on the table. He's given them the time thing.
I just love I love this whole conversation in this episode because it is so akin to just those weird cosmic Marvel comics where it was just like, it was like barely any action or whatever, and it's just like kind of Thanos goes to like speak to Adam Warlock or whatever, and they have like,
it's like how
just
do you
about
defeat a god.
They just talk about life and death on a cosmic level,
Yeah.
and it's really like, wow, like, this is actually like
because when he like again. Great acting. He just went through so many emotions, but when he got vexed at Sylvie, he was like, "Wake up, Sylvie! Yeah, we're all bad guys.
Yeah.
We've all killed people.
Grow up, Sylvie.
Yeah,
Murderer, hypocrite.
Murderer, hypocrite. Yeah, like But like, this is what it is. This is it for all the eggs, all the baskets. This is time. This is existence.
For all the eggs, all the baskets.
Like this is existence. Like, what are you gonna do?
No, he's not wrong either. Well, I mean, you could choose to believe or not, but.
Yeah.
We know what films are coming, so. But I'd say like the thing that I loved about this scene, probably my favorite line, was just as they cross that threshold. Loki says, "So this is what happens at the end of the time, and now you're going to sit here and just let us decide your fate," or something to that effect. And I just thought like that is so like. That is just so weird cosmic Marvel conversation. Like, I just loved it.
And he was like, yep. And then, which led to, obviously, Sylvie's been on the run from the TVA, headed by He Who Remains. And she's got a lot of hate in her heart for him. Her whole life has been about tracking this person down and killing them. So Loki wanted to hear the deal out, take a minute to think about it. Sylvie didn't want to. Again, we come to Loki's arc of redemption where in the end he drops his dagger after their fight and just says like, look, I don't want the throne. I'm not trying to backstab you, but I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to stab you. Like, I
just want you to be okay.
I want you to be okay. And she kisses him. We think, oh my God, he's done it. He's won it with conversation. He's done it in Naruto. But
I love that it was just like, it is probably most appropriate for that character to be like, yeah, Loki's egotistical. Obviously, he'd be, into a version of himself.
Oh yeah, so like that obviously caused like a massive breach in the timeline, caused a massive variant time thing to pop off. It's how they managed to find them, to rescue them with the planet before it was about to blow up, because two variants falling in love with each other is just like dumb. I mean, if they had a kid, that kid variant is what? Null of all time and existence.
I mean, that's. I think that's part of the MCU lore that we haven't really explored yet. We don't know if we don't know. We don't know if those same issues get attributed. Hopefully not. I doubt it's territory they're going to explore.
Yeah,
but
much.
They got bigger fish to fry for the moment.
Which they've been setting up.
Yeah.
So yeah, because as we know, Sylvie basically says, "Sorry, Loki, I can't take your offer," pushes him through a time portal, and then turns around. She goes to Kang, "What? You're not going to beg for your life?" He's like, "Not Kang. He who remains.
He who remains.
He who remains." He's not going to beg for your life, and he's like, "Nah. Like, let's go. Like, I want to see what's going to happen." He's like, "God, either way, let's think about this. You kill me."
I end up right back here anyway.
End up right back here, because all that's going to happen is going to breach the timelines. My other variants are going to come. Some of them are going to be pissed off. They're going to cause a war. And this whole time loop's going to start over again, and I just end up back here. Or, and she's like, "Well, whatever." And stabs him, through the chest. He gives her the wink. He says, "I'll see you soon."
Yeah, it was pretty creepy, that ending. It was
literally just laughing.
He just looked like he powered down, kind of thing.
Yeah.
He just head came low, but it wasn't like I'm dead. It was no tragedy to it.
He died happy. He gave her the wink and said, "Okay, fine."
Sure. We'll keep playing, basically.
We'll keep playing. I'll see you soon. Hopefully next time you'll decide not to. He's lived these lifetimes, so many different things. But
prior to him getting the chop, the shank. Prior to him getting cut down, he Loki, our Loki, the original Loki, gets kicked back to the TVA, unable to access the throne beyond time, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It's not a throne, but it's
not.
a nice desk. So we end the series in a pretty interesting place off the back of all of that. I mean, time is now being fractured, which is appropriate for where we're going, I guess, in the films.
Which you see as the light of the time throughout the sky. You see the branches happening. You see Loki coming at the end. Yeah, we see Hunter B-15 and Owen Wilson, Mobius there, and they're talking about what he just wants us to let them branch. And Loki rolls up. He's like, "Guys, look, I've been there. I've seen the thing. I know who's at the end of time. It's mad. We've got to get ready."
The way he describes him, he's terrifying. He planned everything. It's complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated, but you gotta believe me. And he's like, all his variants are gonna come, and they're scary. They're worse. They're gonna destroy everything. And they're like, "All right, who are you?" And it's this all, what? Who are you? This Twilight Zone. And as he turns around, he sees a giant statue wherein, I guess his timeline, what we had originally seen was the three timekeepers, was now just one statue of He Who Shall Remain. But in this time, I guess he chose to be a more forward-leading member, member of the TVA.
This is where my simple mind was a little confused, because I was sort of like, so I thought the TVA was beyond time, and this wouldn't necessarily see this kind of thing occur, but I guess that was a surprise to us all, and that was part of the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, a great cliffhanger to put things on, and season 2 secured. That was a treat for all.
And it basically, that is what's setting up now what we believe to be the multiverse, because they allowed the time branches to go. So now there's not just one timeline, there's lots of different variant timelines that are being allowed to continue, which he's fallen into now. Because one of them is one where He Who Shall Remains has got a giant statue of himself, like, "I'm the guy who runs things here, I run the TVA." And when Hunter B-15 and Mobius were having that conversation about he's just telling us to let them branch, they're he who shall remains telling them to let him rock. And you know, he explains to Sylvie and Loki early on, like, I've had many names, like, you know, which in the comics is true. Like, Kang the Conqueror has had many names throughout many parts of time because he's always been there doing his conquering stuff, you know, like it's what he does. But we know, because he's been cast as it, that Kang will be part of Ant-Man Quantumania that's coming. And now seeing Jonathan Majors here acting as He Shall Remains, and He Shall Remains talking about his variants and the worst ones out there, and how he had to weaponize Goliath, the giant smoke fin, and that's how he won over the war and beat all the others, because he had none of the other guys had the giant smoke thing that they could eat all
credit
matter.
to the smoke again.
So credit to Goliath's power, like, and the scaling of it. So because it won the multiversal war for him and made him the one timeline that he controlled. But now that the Lokis, or Sylvie Loki, has decided to just let it ride, we're going to see where the MCU is going to take us for Phase 4. They're setting up everything.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of strands to follow already, but this is probably the most interesting, enticing, and probably the biggest indication of, like, what's coming for Phase 4, right? Because... And it's cool that it was Loki that gave it to us, because, you know, Loki sort of introduced Thanos and all of that kind of... I mean, it was kind of the first thing that kicked that ball down the road, right? Like, I feel like it's MCU tradition, almost.
Going forward now with Phase 4, knowing what we know, like, because now we know there's branched timelines, there's other stuff. Now these titles to the movies like Doctor Strange and Multiverse Madness makes a little more sense.
And there's a lot of more credibility to the speculation that, like, the studios have been very tight-lipped on about there being several Spider-Men in the No Way Home title, and obviously Multiverse of Madness for Doctor Strange was like, there it is in the title. Something's happening.
And also it takes us back to, like, WandaVision. Now WandaVision, it was hinted at in the in the adverts, that Nexus, we always see Nexus and this word being thrown around, and Agatha refers to Wanda as a Nexus being, which is like a being who's constant throughout time. Like, no matter what variation of time there is, there's always a Scarlet Witch, and it's always Wanda. Like, you know, what now leads me to believe that Loki must be a Nexus being, because I don't know.
Oh yeah,
because like throughout every timeline, there's always a Loki, you know, and it's always like a Loki Laufenson. But the ones that get pruned are variant Lokis that don't do their job properly in propelling others to be better heroes or whatever.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some interesting things that correlate. Like I forgot about that term Nexus being Scarlet Witch. Was noted as such. That's that's an interesting little tie-in there.
So we know from the end of Scarlet Witch, she hears the voices of her children that got wiped out of existence because of the whole thing. What if it, like, you know, because the thing about Marvel is we don't know the timing of when things are taking place specifically. You know, a lot of things can take place at the same time. Like Loki can be doing his whole journey the same time Wanda's sitting in the cabin. So the second that, like, multiverse things started popping off in the timeline, started breaching, she's reading book, boom, she can hear children coming from another thing. Now she's gonna start doing her Nexus stuff, trying to bring children, like, you know, that was the whole premises of the Spider-Verse movie, because Kingpin wanted to bring his family that had died in his universe from one of the other universe, what led on to the whole Spider-Verse thing being formed. Like, No Way Home's coming. We know that there's this deal between Sony and, like, somehow Morbius and Venom and the Venom movie 2, Let There Be Carnage, and all these stuff are still going to be inclusive of the same Spider-Verse universe. And, like, I mean,
you got this sus.
Yeah, like, I don't know. We could speculate, but bruv, come on.
No. You know what? No, that's really true. As you were sort of getting into that, I did think, like, the voices were there, and variant timelines. There you go. There's a pretty solid lead for.
Yeah. You know, I peeked it.
I don't know. It's going to be. I mean, it's going to be interesting seeing where this is going beyond this, because I mean, Hawkeye and, like, Ms. Marvel, I imagine, are going to be a little bit more grounded. Like, maybe not Ms. Marvel, like, you know, she's a bit more of a, like, kind of powerful character and stuff, but
The
Hawkeye
so
dude with arrows. Like, I
there's
imagine
other
that's going to be.
movies, and there are other, because Loki's a high bar. One Division was a high bar. Like, this is a different level of power scaling we're talking about. Falcon and Winter Soldier brought it back to the boots on the ground, Earth shenanigans.
Earth shenanigans, yeah.
That's going to later lead into things. And I feel like that's what this phase is going to be. It's going to be telling two sides. It's going to be telling us the side of what's happening in the MCU universe through movies such as like Thor, Love and Thunder, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, stuff like this. But then it's going to be telling us how here the Earth heroes, our MCU, our Earth, are going to be building up their defenses through the movies like Shang-Chi and the other shows like Miss Marvel, Ironheart. There's what Armor Wars or whatever, so War Machine 1, what's going to lead into other ones. There's lots of different shows and stuffs that come in. But they're going to tell it on two fronts, and it's all going to lead to at the end being, the same way the Guardians and everyone had to come and be like, yo guys, like Hulk came from space from Thor to be like, guys, Thanos is coming and he's dread, like, we gotta get done. Same way now, them guys are gonna be off in space doing their thing, learning about the multiverse and that war, while we're gonna get the story about Shang-Chi and other like homegrown heroes getting their up, so that when the war comes, we're ready.
Right.
Right.
It's gonna be a good gathering as soon as it kind of comes around. I mean, the amount of stuff they've announced right now is insane. Like they basically pretty much nearly doubled the amount of releases they had with the amount of stuff that they've announced now.
Yeah.
We got to 23 films by the time we got to phase 4. And
COVID did murk us in terms of planning for the MCU, murk the MCU in terms of their planning for stuff like we didn't get the true WandaVision. There was a lot of scenes that got cut out, a lot of side stories that didn't get put in. Same with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Things were meant to go a certain way and they didn't. Reason being is there was COVID constraints. People couldn't travel to set to certain places. Stuff couldn't get done in time. However, now that things have been letting up and things have let up and stuff, we can see the plans getting better. It means now where we've gone through the dry spell having nothing, we've now got a massive catalogue. Like this year alone, it's going down. We've got so much to look forward to.
There's 10 releases this year. And What If is coming next.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
And then not to speak of what's happening like further down the line. There's so much to unpack.
Sure,
but yeah,
sure.
It's all springing forth from this and from the love. And what's funny? Like, as many shows and stuff as they've announced for the MCU, they all had this in plan before they knew Disney Plus was going to be like a thing. Like, they knew Disney Plus was coming and they knew it was going to be on the streaming service. But before they knew, like, people would like it and people would actually be tuning in to watch these shows and stuff like this every week. They didn't know. These shows all could have just been at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Don't shoot me. I know there's people that are big fans of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Sure,
but
sure.
As a Marvel fan, that didn't ever click with me.
Yeah, no, it didn't really butter my toast.
Yeah, right. So they didn't know that these shows were going to hit as hard, but they put a lot of weight behind them, expecting them to. And to be honest, it's paid off. It's working.
To be fair, when you got the mouse house money though, that's like you can literally throw more money than space programs get or whatever.
You can
streaming
move
service.
some mountains and make some things work when you got enough resources. Yeah. But they have the resources. The fact that they had a lot of faith in that it would work out. They would get that back, and they have, all of them been smacking.
I mean, that's the thing about the first 10 years of the MCU has been, they've been educating, with little things at first, there's a post-credit scene and other thing that tells you about the next film. And so that's how you start to learn, there's Captain America and Thor, I see how it's crossing over.
They never used to be these post-credits and got people waiting at the end of the movie.
But that was the height of it back in the day, and now we've reached these high concepts where it's there's a set of shows and there's going to be films released throughout, and they kind of are going to interweave in a really interesting way.
I know there's a lot of people that I speak to that have not watched like we have all of the movies
Right.
or all of the shows. You know what I mean? Like, you know, they've seen like the Avenger ones and like, you know, maybe like the odd one here and there, but not all of them. And like, and I always find it interesting because like, so like, how is it for you? Because doesn't it feel like end up feeling a bit janky? And they're like, nah, not really, because they focus on like a few sets of characters, you know, like they like them characters, so they'll always like look for the movies with them characters in it, and stuff like this, you know. So like, you know, one person I knew liked Chris Hemsworth, so they only watched the 4 movies and then like the Avenger movies because he was in them.
Right.
And they didn't really watch any of the other ones because they didn't really have. 4 didn't really feature in other people's movies. Other people featured in 4's movie. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So
he needed the help, to be honest.
Yeah, but luckily, after two
kind of shaky ones,
you know, But not gonna lie, those are probably the best ones to watch because I was like, to be honest, you're just watching the 4 movies. I guess you're gonna get it because he does touch a lot on that stuff. So when it came to the Endgame and Thanos and stuff, you know, they pretty much got the idea.
But yeah, no, it's. I mean, I think the kind of the crisscross of characters going forward is going to be interesting. Like, I mean, that Thor movie in particular is going to be a lot of fun.
Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
Like you know, Taika Waititi and the mans, they're getting it done on that set. It's going to be jokes.
And it'll just be interesting to kind of see who turns up in shows and stuff. And you know, the way that, I mean, they're already doing a really great job, I think, of kind of weaving that stuff into you know, the cinematic texture that we knew before. Like, you know, like credit to the Netflix shows. Like I loved those, but they were so tenuously linked to. I think like we got like one solid Easter egg in the first Daredevil where it was like,
I don't know why,
the
but
incident.
so far it feels like the only, like, I mean, to be honest, Marvel are the ones that started doing this whole cinematic universe like link to this scale. But like now everyone else is trying it with certain things, and like no one ever really gets it right. Like even like with all these like TV shows and these shows and whatnot, and they always like do crossover events and stuff. You know, like you can't interweave it like Marvel does.
But where like I think there's still like a positive to be drawn from that is that like I think Marvel demonstrating that this comic book audience exists and like wanted to see some of the concepts that are getting thrown up now. Like without like the Avengers film, you wouldn't get stuff like firstly, you certainly wouldn't have like recently released like a 4-hour Justice League cut. Like that wouldn't be a thing. No way.
Yeah, that's true.
But stuff like, I mean, like, I've really enjoyed like a random show like Preacher, which is a Vertigo comic, and I think it was adapted by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. It's really great. Like it does its own thing for the show, but like as I'm watching it, I was constantly thinking of Marvel, being like, wow, like this wouldn't exist without without them basically having taken the plunge and being like, yeah.
Every streaming service, every movie company, whatever, needs a superhero thing right now. If you're a comic book artist, like, you know, stuff you read back in the day, or like a comic book fan, like all those old comics you read back in the day that you just found and maybe never had a big following, and you think to yourself, I'd never see that. Nah, this is the day and age you'll see that. There's so much stuff, like Netflix for one, like they've got so many shows that come from like Image Comics and stuff like this, and like Vertigo Comics, like other publishers other than Marvel and DC, that you're just like, you can see it happen. But off the back of that, it's only because like Marvel have just been like, you want it, we got it. Like, you want to see this, you can see that. Some stuff you don't even know what you want to see. This is what Marvel's like. You don't know about Eternals, you don't know about Guardians, you don't know about like these characters, these obscure people.
That Eternals trailer it looks bonkers as well.
Like you don't know about these things there, but we do, and we're gonna tell you about them, and you're gonna love it, because you know it's true. It's all stuff that's worked out for Marvel over the years. You know, these are all storylines and stuff that have worked and tried and tested, and you know, so to bring it's just bringing something so out of this world to live action, you know, to making it realistic, and again walking that line between like realism and fantasy.
Sure. No, I think where it's gone, like, to be fair, if they had ended it after 10, 11 years of films or whatever it was, like, and that was just like the tapestry of Marvel films we got. It would be like, great job, guys. Like, that's amazing. Like, look at all the comic book like wonderfulness that's in these films. But like, where they're like just pushing it to, like, yeah, sure. Like, I think to the casual observer, it was already pretty oversaturated in terms of like, that's a lot of superhero films. Not also considering the other studios that are releasing stuff right now, right? Yeah. But I think it's definitely, as a fan, it's a great time to be, just checking this stuff out.
Just off the top of your head, like, all right, yeah, just now, after like, I'm sure you can put it up a list, just top of your head. How many confirmed shows? Like, not like a figure. Let's just ring them off. Like,
so we got What If.
It's coming. What If's coming next? That's the new one.
Hawkeye,
there's a trailer out. You can watch that.
Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk, Moon Knight. I've got technology. I can get the list up for you.
So
She-Hulk, I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, She-Hulk will be good because She-Hulk's going to be like So She-Hulk's profession is she's a lawyer. And she usually gets like, you never think like superhero-related cases. That's her bag. You think she's gonna Hulk smash things. I mean, she does when time needs be, but like, she's a lawyer and she gets a lot of superheroes out of a lot of like, legal jams and shit. Like,
sure. And yeah, it was hinted that we'll see some interesting characters hopefully show up.
Apparently, she's got a story when she gets brought upon to TVA to stand trial.
Right.
Yeah, so like, Loki season 2, we never know. By that point, She-Hulk series probably out anyway.
That could be an interesting place for that to go, actually. But the order is
gone.
What If, Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion, yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson coming back for that. I Am Groot. The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
I thought I Am Groot was the holiday special.
Armor Wars. I mean, this might not. I think at this point, this might not be release order. This might these could chop and change. Armor Wars,
Ironheart, yeah.
And I think that's the list, but not including movies, obviously.
Oh, not including movies, because like I know on the movie side, we got Shang-Chi, got the trailer for that. Looking hype. I'm ready.
I'm still not clued up on Black Widow. We got to come back soon, and we got to be clued up on Black Widow.
Black Widow, we actually. But to be honest, we know Black Widow's kind of like where it is in the story. It's not after the fact. It's setting up. I know it's going to set up stuff going forward.
I don't want to go on record speculating and be like, it's nothing to watch. It's nothing to watch because you can come back.
No. It's definitely going to have stuff, and it's definitely going to set things up for, like what I'm saying. It's definitely going to set up the home base stuff like Falcon and Winter Soldier did. But it's we'll watch Black Widow. We'll come back to it. But in terms of going forward, Shang-Chi, Eternals just looks mad. If you know about the Eternals, they're basically gods that wipe their memories and live on Earth, and they help the humanity basically become humanity. But they wipe their memories to become part of humanity, and explains why they weren't there for when Thanos was coming and popping things off.
It could. I guess it's. It remains to be seen for this version, but it's
Eternals.
I got the impression, I don't know, from the trailers they seemed pretty wise and old, like they've been present for a while.
Yeah, I'm sure they've lived along, but I don't know. That's just what we know from comics.
From comics, sure. But that's going to be a bonkers one. Like that, the footage in that trailer is beautiful.
To the point that whatever they are, like demigods, whatever, is the same kind of demigod thing Thanos is.
Yeah. I'm hoping just for more cosmic, weird Marvelness, even though it's set on Earth.
We may get a young Thanos in Eternals, like a flashback or something.
Are they going to de-age Josh Brolin?
Josh Brolin. I don't know. He's a lot of CG.
De-age and then CGI him. Yeah. Or maybe maybe they'll get a younger actor to be CGI'd.
Baby Thanos.
But no, that'll be awesome. I mean, and because it spans thousands of years. The Eternals. Apparently, or we'll see some stuff across the timeline.
Fantastic Four, we know, is coming at the end. They just got that deal in the bag.
The release order from Eternals after that: Spider-Man, No Way Home.
Yeah.
We got Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. We got Thor: Love and Thunder. We got Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, they already started filming.
I'm like, I mean, man, Chadwick Boseman passing away is obviously like the most tragic thing that could follow like
his
the
whole
film.
his whole story, like, you know, we didn't sit for so time, and to think that, like, you know, he's given us so many like sick roles in like so many movies, and like been such an icon, and was going through so much in himself, you know what I mean? So,
was instantly beloved as well when he got into the in the suit, you know, and was like, you know, I mean, I'm not like well read on Black Panther comics and stuff. I've, you know, like seen the character feature in a load of crossovers and whatever, but like, it was kind of like it was like Downey level, like, you know, it was like Downey Jr. level, like performance of like, that's his role.
That
like,
character.
That's his role.
That's
like, you don't.
Like, I did read Black Panther, and again, man, I always remember that day, like, we were chilling and talking, and I was like, bruv, never see that Black Panther happen, like, because I always remember, and I was like, the reason as well we wouldn't see Black Panther happen is because I thought it was too next, like Wakanda in itself in the comics, how like it just has like the giant mountains and the nature around like giant tech and like panther idols and stuff like this. I was like, they could never create that world.
That's exactly what I read as well. It was just like, it would be too much to do.
Too much, like,
I'm thinking like, well, what about Avatar or something like that? Like that was I mean, yes, it was an expensive film, but
like,
still,
I don't know. I felt like, you know, Wakanda was just like a too out there place in itself that I don't know how they were gonna pull that off in real. And they did, like they did, and they still had all those elements to it, the rural side and the tech side and the idols and like just like the mysticism of, and like how grand the land in itself was, because like, you know, there's so many like factions within Wakanda, like, you know, like it's not just like one guy, just Black Panther and stuff like this.
But beyond that, so
they really, I really like how they done it, but I look forward to that. What comes after that one?
So beyond that, the Marvels. So I think that's
Ms. Marvel,
Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau.
Because, you know, she in the comics she carries the title of Ms. Marvel for a while.
Right.
Also goes by the hero named Spectrum. She controls light waves and frequencies. What we see hinted at in WandaVision as she gets her, like, you know, powers and stuff. Again, due to COVID, we didn't get to see her really let off with them powers. Because like she was meant to have a good fight scene at the end with her and the boys, Wiccan and Speed, against some giant, you know, the bunny rabbit that Agatha had.
Sure.
Yeah, she was gonna turn it into a giant demon thing. And
right.
then Monica and the boys were meant to have like a sick fight scene, and fake Pietro as well were meant to have a sick fight scene against this like demon bunny rabbit thing. But, you know, COVID constraints, we never got that scene.
Right.
Unfortunately.
The worst of COVID constraints. Damn.
But so we never really got to see Monica show off her light spectrum powers fully in WandaVision, but we did get that after credit scene where she gets met up by a shield or sword agent, who then says she has to go, like, you know, you're back on mission.
Right.
And, like, you know, where you going up there? And she turns into a Skrull. I thought it was going to be the Skrull she met as a kid in Captain Marvel, you know.
That would have been nice.
I thought that would have been nice. It would have been an easy thing to do. Like, hey, girl, I've been so long, ain't seen you. Like, you know. Nah. But anyway, she was like, yeah, you know, time to go up there. And we all know, like, Nick Fury's up in space, because we know from Homecoming that Nick Fury's really been chilling in space looking for his slippers and sending down Skrull doppelgangers of himself, because him and Skrulls are tight from Captain Marvel when it was a prequel to what's obviously going to lead into Secret Invasion, what we're getting a show about, because if you don't know, like, when I was watching Captain Marvel, the first thing, I remember saying it to you as well, like, I don't know about these Skrulls, and I remember being like, because, you know, they were nice, and I did like them towards the end of the movie. You know, they get a redemption story, you find out they're really refugees, and they're just trying to find a home, and they're persecuted by the Kree. But we know from the comics, Skrulls are always dicks, like, you know, like, we know from the comics, Skrulls are always gonna, like, mess stuff up. So when this MCU iteration came with them being nice, I was like, okay. But now that I'm seeing things listed like Secret Wars, what we know is a storyline in which the Skrulls have infiltrated Earth on a scale that we didn't know, and they've actually taken the place of our heroes and the protectors of our Earth that we would have, and and basically control everything to every degree of the government because they've been living there for time, unbeknownst to everyone because they can shapeshift. And it's just weird to see that we may be seeing that come up now, considering how well Fury is working with them. Because Fury's meant to be our line of defense. And obviously he's relied on the Skrulls, thinking that they're friends. But, maybe he's been tricked like the rest of us. Maybe they're not. Because I don't know how Secret Invasion's going to run if it ain't some Skrulls that we got to beat. You know.
I don't know. Well, Marvel's good at turning things on its head. You know, we will just have to kind of wait and see on that. But... So beyond the Marvels and the rest of the films, just rolling them off, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, long time coming. That's not like the that I was just commenting that it has been a long time coming. And then last things to be announced have been the Fantastic Four and Blade. Yeah. Not sure on releases for those. Didn't really roll off.
For those. They're going to be last. I'm annoyed Blade's going to be the last one. Yeah. But I hear that because, you know, like I said earlier, Blade basically started the MCU. Like the original Blade trilogies helped Marvel get the money and the funds to go and make their own movies and make Spider-Man and make this MCU thing.
Do you reckon with all the variants they'll bring back Wesley Snipes? Have two Blades.
You know what? There was a time when I said I would have said definitely, but no. There's a reason why Mahershala Ali is playing Blade and not Wesley Snipes.
They got to give it to him.
Mahershala Ali, if you haven't seen him, I don't know. For me, it's always him in Luke Cage as Cottonmouth. Yeah. He was sick as that villain.
This will mark the first time that they've cast. I guess you could count.
Someone from the Marvel shows.
I get who's the fellow that plays Jarvis in Vision?
Oh yeah.
I'm missing his name, but apologies, fine actor. But he was possibly like the first person you could consider that person played two roles, but this will truly be this guy used to be on a completely different show playing a completely different character person. That was
Imagine
again very tenuously related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Imagine he was like a Cottonmouth variant.
Wow.
He's a Cottonmouth variant.
I wouldn't mind that, to be honest. If they, because the Netflix shows, they do have stuff to pay off.
The Netflix shows were good, but it was
that's not what they need to pay off in particular. But you know what? If that's how they give the Netflix shows back to me in this universe, so be it.
I feel like the difference is, with the TV shows, previous Marvel TV shows or iterations of these superhero shows, when it's on TV, they feel that means lower budget. Yeah, it has to be a lower budget show because it's a TV show. But what we're seeing from the Disney Plus shows now is that's not the case. That's not the case. They still putting movie budget into these TV shows and it's paying off, and that's why it seems seamless. Loki, WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier all could have been part of an Avengers movie in itself, but they weren't. They were TV shows. And I feel that's where maybe the Netflix one dropped off, because the Netflix movies, I'm sure due to budget constraints, the power scaling and everything was always very realistic. Even though they referenced things that had happened in the Marvel movies, it was never connected. And it was very hard to see how these people were gonna step up to be aside such heroes like Thor and Hulk and Iron Man and stuff, like that. It would be a bit weird, janky, seeing them on the actual movie. If they came in at Endgame and stuff, it'd be oh snap.
Well, I would have loved to have seen them, but at the same time, it would have been huh?
Just them coming through the pool.
Where were you guys the rest of the time?
Yeah.
But it's it's a lot to look forward to, and we got to go see Black Widow soon. That's
definitely the next one.
Well, that's what we'll be back for, I guess.
Because I'm not gonna lie, it's so hard to. It's weird because I'm sure, we live in the UK, and I'm sure it got an American US release before us. So it's been so hard dodging like spoilers because them like breakdown videos and stuff come out the day after. Like,
yeah, no. To be
I mean?
honest, with this is like one of the latest we've run on. Like, we'll be
Like
more
of not
punctual.
seeing something when it's been out.
Sure.
But you know, just given the current like global situation, I ain't been really fussed to go to the cinema to watch this movie.
No, we'll get it done though.
But
We'll get it
yeah,
done
nah, it has to
soon.
get done because I know there's stuff. I know there's stuff there. Well, I'm gonna be like, oh, snizzy app. If I had known this when I had watched like whatever else, I would have seen that person. Because you know, like Black Widow was filmed time ago.
Sure.
Like, yeah, we should have got that movie time ago. Like, so all the shows that are coming out now are out of timeline. So I'm sure there's some stuff that Black Widow is gonna set up that we should have seen already. It would have probably given us a bit more context to things we're seeing now in like the Marvel shows that are coming.
Yeah, no, I think the Hydra character that Julie Louise-Dreyfus plays in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, apparently she shows up in Black Widow.
But there you go.
But yeah,
There you go.
that remains to be seen. We got to check that.
Yeah.
We got to check that out.
See what I go on with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So much stuff in the MCU. Couldn't even put a drop in a bucket. And like just different aspects. So I was just like, yeah. But coming off of Loki, pretty much that final episodes and everything set us up for now Phase 4 and how everything's gonna go. Now I can see, like now I see the steps. I get it.
You
like,
see how stuff's coming together, but I'm sure
Yeah.
we're going to see a lot more, interesting elements continue to come in.
Yeah. But now I know. Because, you know, like, before I could have seen, like, Kang being cast in Ant-Man Quantumania. Doesn't mean that he's going to be anything more than, I don't know, because we've seen other great villains being cast in movies. And then, like, Ultron. Where's Ultron now? Like, you know, like...
Yeah, a lot of speculation on that too.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing Ultron come back, but at the same time, there's a more to just keep digging into, right?
There's always like other things. So like, you know, at first I didn't think much of it, but now seeing after Loki and how they're using the character, I think Kang is going to be a lot more of an issue.
I'm thinking the Kang saga will be, I see a lot of fans speculating like, this is going to be like a 5-6 year thing, and then we're going to go into like, other.
I honestly think we'll see other variants of Kang. That's why I'm saying by the end of this, they'll be talking about like Jonathan Major's range of acting, because we'll see so many different variants of He Who Remains, Kang, whatever other name they decide to give him. Mortis was one of the other names when he was like an Egyptian pharaoh and stuff like this.
Right.
Yeah, they could give him any of these names as different variants, and then we don't actually see the one, the dreaded Kang the Conqueror, till like the end, like, you know, same way like
with the teapot helmet.
Yeah, we knew like Thanos was
is.
out there, but we didn't really see Thanos come till like then. Like no one in the MCU interacted with Thanos until like the end. But we had seen him about. We knew he was out there. His name was whispered.
See him grinning at the end.
I feel like this time we'll get to know other iterations of him, and I think like we'll grow to love or hate him, because like again this He Who Remains guy, like he was jokes, like he had so much bands. I like that guy.
He was possibly like in a single scene he was possibly like Marvel's best villain. Like it was just wow, you are.
Like,
I know we're gonna get more of Jonathan Majors, but
so charismatic,
version was great.
Basically,
I just loved that he was the old, like he was like an old tired fool at the end of time, but like so like just so know-it-all and
like in
wistful.
like this young body, like, and just so whimsical, basically.
Yeah.
But like I feel we're gonna see a lot more iterations of him, Kang, that character, that variant, and like grow to make informed opinion on them. Like, that's how Marvel's gonna mislead us. Maybe they're gonna go, you know what, this guy's not such a bad guy, because like we're all waiting for this bad one, but maybe they just introduce us to a few like nice cool ones before then, and we're like, we really like these guys, these guys are cool. And then like that last guy they meet though, that Dread Kang, he comes up and just murks them.
I could imagine there's going to be a little bit of dramatic irony in that, like if you've seen Loki and like maybe Kang in Ant-Man, if that's going to be his name in Ant-Man, because it was announced as such at the time, but like maybe like he gets to know the characters in like a benevolent way at first, but like we the audience know like I mean, his name being Kang would have already been a giveaway, but like, you know, we know the scale, we know how serious it is now.
I mean, to the point, in Loki, when you go back to that life episode with the variants, in the landscape there was a Kang Tower. What was so in one of the stories, Kang, in one of his like lives of going back in time, acquires Stark Towers, and he has he has like a human name, you know, and he does what he does. He conquers by like being a business tycoon and acquiring lots of like, you know, tech and property and power, which he does by acquiring Stark Towers, and then has Kang Tower. Right. We see that in the Loki wasteland, like that actual Kang Tower there.
Sure.
And it's just like, okay, so we know, like, you know, this is happening, like that, that's there, and like his name's about and whatnot.
This is this guy's timeline or something.
Yeah.
No, it was. I mean, man, like the way they've woven this show together is it gives me so much faith for like, I think WandaVision was kind of similar in that like it had its own kind of like purely original concept to get into, right?
Yeah.
Like the whole sitcom thing was really interesting, and like Falcon and the Winter Soldier was really great as well, and explored some really like, you know, like some really real issues in terms of like, you know, the introduction of Isaiah as a character, like
Isaiah Bradley,
like his whole arc like being introduced into the MCU was like, I think tonally, like they've never quite touched upon like anything like that.
Yeah, it's true.
It's the kind of thing in something like this that you would expect them to make it like subtext and not make it like
so
really
prominent and
on the nose. But it was really shown to, you know, like his story is like, you know, having been put in prison for 30 years, like, you know, purely due to prejudices and things and racism. Like it's like I was kind of like hats off to the MCU for putting that kind of like, it, you know, while I think the show otherwise was fairly much like, you know, pretty standard action kind of thing, like to put that sort of theme in, I thought was really, it served the storytelling hugely, but was also like
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
It's the kind of thing that I think is just good to put out in, you know, the popular conscious as like something to acknowledge, right?
Yeah, again, in terms of the shows, and like I see how they're doing it. We're getting certain shows and movies that are going to be out in the world in the time and everything, and they're going to come back later and be like, guys, you don't know what's happening out there. But in that time, we're going to see our Earth heroes rise up and like develop, and that's what Falcon and the Winter Soldier really set up, because it gave us so much more. Whereas Loki gave us insight into the world of the MCU and like, you know, how it's run, the universe, the timeline, everything. Falcon and Winter Soldier showed us how Earth is run, the Avengers, you know, them things like he's an Avenger but he's broke, he ain't got money. You know?
Right.
He can't get a loan at a bank for his house, for his family business. You know, things like how people view like Avengers, like, you know, everyone, you're Black Falcon. So why? Because I'm Falcon and I'm black.
He says like, well, I mean, not to, you know, technically, technically.
You know, like just like, even though he's an Avenger, he still gets stopped by the police, like like this. And
like, I just think it was a real theme and a topic to explore and kind of showcase to an extent. Obviously, you know, with Sam being like the central character to that show, or like or one of them, like it was obviously appropriate. And the way they explored that with Isaiah Bradley's backstory as well was, I think all of these shows have had an interesting way to get into like quite sort of deep storytelling, and like it's come in different forms. Like I think Loki has been kind of, it's very different, but like it's also almost the most traditionally MCU thing in that like it's, I mean, it is bonkers the fact that we've now introduced this whole outside of time concept and, you know, multiple
multiverses.
But we knew we were going in that direction, right? And
we didn't know how it was coming, but we just knew, like, you know, you can't do comic book stuff without having multiverses.
Yeah. But that's it, man.
Well, okay, that's been me, OG Otaku, aka TJ, the one and only, and here with Nathan, aka N, giving you all the rundown and all the MCU knowledge. We hope you've learned something. N, got anything to say?
Just looking forward to coming back, discussing some Black Widow. I think like it'll be nice to see how stuff starts to knit together. First new film from Marvel I'll be seeing after COVID. Well, first one we'll all be seeing.
Yeah. So yeah, as you know, as we've already said, there's a lot to come for the MCU, and we're going to be discussing all of it. As new information comes to light, we're going to be talking about it. And if you want to be in the know, if you want to know the more grittier in details of the MCU and the Marvel Universe and stuff you may not find out anywhere else, then feel free to check us out when we come and drop another one of these podcasts for you to listen to. And we hope you enjoy it. Let us know.
Yeah. Peace and love.
Peace
Thanks
and
for
love.
listening.